Peace. What's going on, YouTube? It's KJ back again. All right, so real quick, today I want to get into something that's very important, and it has to do with addiction. All right, so I know a lot of us have some form of addiction, whether it's positive or negative, right? The first thing I want to start by saying is that addiction is a symptom. It's a symptom of whatever reality you live in that you're trying to cope with, whether it's for the better or for the worse, right? You can be addicted to positive things and you can be addicted to negative things. A lot of times when we think about it, we're thinking of it in a negative lens, and that's for a good reason, because let's be real, if you live in this matrix, a lot of shit that you deal with, especially based off upon your own mind control, is negative. Let's just take it for what it is, because no amount of meditating, no amount of peace, love, beloved, and all that shit is going to change the fact that you still live in a place like America or a place like Earth, whatever the case may be. You still have to deal with reality. You know, you still have to deal with punching in. You still have to deal with punching out. You still have to deal with family issues. You still have to deal with the kids. You still have to deal with people at work. You still have to deal with people at school. You have to deal with people in your business. You have to deal with people outside of your business. The person cutting you off in traffic. You know, every little thing that you could possibly think of. You have to deal with feeling trapped, abuse. And if you're conscious, you see that all the mind control that's going on, you see all the BS that's going on, you have to deal with that. The government, whatever the case may be, whatever has you mad, whatever has your panties in a bunch, you have to deal with it. And sometimes, instead of just accepting things for the reality that we see them as, right? You know, we would rather project blame onto it. So now you made your enemy that person in traffic. Now you made your enemy, you know, your government or whatever the case may be. And sure, maybe are there things that are going on different levels that are messed up? Yeah, sure, whatever the case may be. And that's perfectly fine, as long as you understand that. But now that if you're making it into something that you have to have a survival mode reaction to, that's when it becomes a problem. Or if you don't know how to react and your way of reacting is hiding or withdrawing, right? Because these drugs, they take us into a higher state of reality. But the thing is, when they do that and you don't have a foundation, now you're starting to chip away at your perception of reality. And so you start to go crazy. You start to lose emotional control, because now you've taken your chakras and you put them in a blender, and now these things are working against you. This is why if you have a spiritual connection and you can see what's going on, a lot of times when you try to stop something that you've been doing for years, you start to have dreams or all these pulls, and these are entities that you created, right? Everything that you do is energy. Everything you interact with is energy. All right, so when you're doing something like smoking every single time, chiefing every single time, getting lit every single time, you are feeding something for the hopes of it giving you back that type of pleasure, right? And the minute you try to pull back away and stop giving it food, it wants to kill you, or it wants to make things harder for you, so that you will turn back. That's the addiction trying to bring you back in so you can keep coping with reality. And so it's not even necessarily it's doing it on its own, but it's what happened before you were addicted. It's showing you the things that you ran away from and why it was born in the first place, why this entity was created in the first place. So, and that it requires a level of honesty and intimacy with yourself that a lot of people aren't ready for, and the ability to overcome fear. This is why when people quit heavy drugs, they almost die, because or their bodies can't handle it. Right? Your spirit might be ready, but your body might not be ready for it. But the thing is, the mind and the body controls, or the mind and the spirit controls the body. So you have to trust yourself. A lot of people who knew that they would die if they tried to quit alcohol did it anyway, because they wanted it that bad. They want to change the reality that bad. You have to be one of those people if you're conscious. You know, I used to be helplessly addicted to sex, helplessly addicted to video games, right? Because I just didn't like my reality. And it took years of withdrawal, months of withdrawal from those type of things, you know, to put things into perspective of why I did what I did, you know. And only then was I able to really go back into my creative aspect, because before that, I was young and I was creating everything. I was still working on the book back then. And I remember around the time that I started coping with what I didn't like in my life, that's when those type of things became a form of an addiction. So it's not necessarily a substance you're addicted to the escape, to coping with reality. It's a tough world that we live in, but it doesn't have to be tough because you're in control, right? We can make ourselves addicted to things like success, like making money, like spiritual development, getting knowledge, growing. Those are healthy addictions. Substances are meant to enhance, they're meant to be tools, but they're not meant to be used over and over again. So you have to be willing. It takes discipline, and not a lot of people have that. You have to start with being able to learn how to focus. That's why I made a focus meditation, so you can start increasing your ability to focus. If you don't increase your ability to focus, if you don't increase your discipline, then how are you going to have the discipline to let go of what no longer serves you, what's no longer adding to your life? Because when you constantly keep feeding these things, like I said, it creates a real spiritual entity on the other side, based off your mind, based off your emotional state. That's all you need to create something. And we do it all the time when we don't even realize it. We do it for our benefit, and we do it for our own downfall. So you have to be willing to look at this. It creates a real entity that needs food. And that food is your emotional pain, your thoughts, your negative thoughts, you wanting to run away. It eats off of those things. It's a parasite. So you have to be willing. This is why there's these things about entities like archons, entities like negative entities, negative astral entities, lower astral entities. They feed off the collective negative energy produced off of people. That hunger, your survival mode, everything about your human experience, it feeds off of those things. You have to be willing to look at this honestly in yourself, because you're the one creating your own reality. And you're going to hear me say it over and over again, but that book, Letting Go by David R. Hawkins, will help a lot if you put the practices and you actually do the work. If you put in those practices, then you'll see differences in your life. And the only reason why I'm saying that is because I saw differences in my life. You have to be willing to do it. If you're not willing to do it, if you don't want to put in the work, or if you just kind of want it, it's not going to happen for you. I'm sorry. Actually, I'm not sorry, to be honest. Because I didn't even feel sorry for myself when I saw that I fell off my grind, or whenever I lost discipline. I just said, okay, you know what? I gotta take an L, but it's a step forward still. Just take your L and move on. Take your L and move forward. Just the other day, I was talking to somebody about their smoking addiction, right? And they were telling me that this started when they were a teenager, and they tried so hard. Their kids don't even talk to them. You know what I mean? They tried to quit it so many different times. And I said, well, have you ever thought about why you started it when you were at that age? Have you ever actually just gone back and thought about why? And just looked at, really evaluated, been honest with yourself. Just think about why. And, and I was like, if you have to go to therapy to figure that out, then go to therapy. As long as you understand when and why it started. Because like I said, addiction is a symptom of a problem. It's not the problem. So that made them think a lot. And I started feeling the chills on my face when I was talking about it, because I remembered myself too. And I knew I was supposed to help this person. I didn't know why or when, but I knew I was supposed to help this person. And that was something that they had never thought of before. But it's the simplest thing. If you don't get to the root of the cause, how are you going to deal with it? You want to stop the leaves on a tree from falling instead of just cutting down the tree, right? There's no stopping it. The only way to stop it is to take it down from the ground up. So, and that starts with going to the root of the problem, which is, it's the only way. It's the most effective way. We're so used to treating ourselves with something quick, like a pill, a microwave result, you know. But and those things, I'm not saying those things don't work, but they don't heal. True healing comes from within. True healing comes from going back and being able to deal with your shadow, the shadow self. You need to get that book, Darkness Visible. I forgot who the author's name is, but get that book, Darkness Visible, because that talks about essentially what I'm talking about. The shadow self is something that it's our greatest teacher. And a lot of times we run from it because we don't like what it tells us about ourselves. Every day you deal with some type of thing that reminds you of what you're trying to run away from, where you're trying to not accept about yourself. But what if you just started listening and saying, well, why am I here? Why am I experiencing this? Why do I feel this way? Those type of questions are the beginning of your consciousness, the beginning of your conscious journey. That's what it's really about. It's not about wearing the crystals. It's not about wearing the dashikis. You know, it's not about that. It's not about grand rising. It's not about, oh, welcome to the new 5D Earth. No. It's about recognizing that, hey, I live in a shithole. How did I get here? How did I get here? Why is it a shithole? And how do I get out? You have to understand what form of the hologram that you're actually viewing in your life. Because just as bad as it gets, you can make it that much better once you actually understand how to take control of yourself. You take control of yourself and your mind, you take control of this reality. That's what these advertisers don't want you to think. They don't want you thinking for yourself. They don't want you moving away from this technological way of dealing with things, and you using your inner technology, inner knowledge. You know, so they'll track every little thing that you do and make it seem like, oh yeah, this is helping me. I'm being drawn to it. Look at the synchronicity, yada, yada, yada. It just popped up on my Reddit feed, and I was just thinking about it 2 seconds ago. I was talking about it 2 seconds ago, saying I need a drink, saying I need to smoke. You know what I'm saying? It's targeted advertising based off your data. Think about these things and be willing to run away from it as far as you possibly can. Run back into your shadow and just understand what's going on. Look deeper within your heart and understand what's going on. You can't get out without understanding what's in your heart. It's impossible. You can't graduate unless you understand the material. And understanding material starts with understanding you. We live these hard lives. We're in a hard reality for a reason, and it's to learn. No one ever graduated anything complaining instead of doing the work. So instead of flunking out of school, it's time to really put your nose to the grindstone. I know you can do it because I'm doing it too. I didn't say I was done. I said I'm doing it too. You know what I mean? So that level of honesty is really all that you need. I know you can do it. Peace.